Hello.
Matthew, what's up, man?
Hi, how are you?
Hey, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Congratulations on the film. I think I loved how badass you were in this movie. This is awesome.
Thanks very much.
No problem, dude. Well, first of all, I got to say this, and using the word badass, you really do become almost one of, I think, the star of this movie. This is like your character essentially throws everything, all the important scenes into place, in my opinion. Talk about like how it felt to become that essential like badass character.
Well, it's been fantastic, really. As an actor, you always want to be involved as much as possible in the production. You want to feel like your character is integral to the story, and
right.
He's taking a journey. And I got to feel all of that this year. And Neville really is a badass.
Yeah.
And he gets to really become a hero, and it's such a lovely moment for him, to have come from such humble beginnings, such a shy, bumbling kid who was bullied and nobody ever thought would amount to anything, and then here he is being the savior of the wizarding world. It's inspiring. I feel very, very honored to have been able to play that.
Well, it's a great part, and I want to ask you, when you first started off shooting these movies back when you were just a young boy, you. Obviously, these books weren't out yet, so you didn't know. Like, did you eventually know that your character was going to take a turn to become this type of a character, or did you always think you were going to stay the bullied character like you mentioned?
Well, yeah. I mean, when I first started, I read the first sort of I think 4 books were out at the point I started, and I'd read those, and yeah, I just assumed, I thought there was more to Neville. I thought there was a reason why he was in Gryffindor, but I thought he would pop up with the odd, getting 10 points for Gryffindor like at the end of the first one, things like that. I never thought that he would go on to become this hero, and it wasn't until I read the final book, which was years later after I'd started, that I found that he was going to be this resistance leader and this savior, and yeah, it was pretty amazing when I read the book and realized that's what I was going to be doing.
Now, talk about your childhood growing up, because you grew up with the franchise, you grew up with this character, so it's kind of like you're in the same timeline, kind of, and like talk about the parallels to your real life. I mean, like, were you able to how long were you able to stay in school before people just started bothering you about Harry Potter all the time? Or did you continue through school, through high school? Or did you have a normal life during all this, or did you stay at home and go do homeschool?
No, my life was my actual home life, my personal life was very, very was very different from the Harry Potter life, and it really didn't change that much. I still went to normal school. I've got all the same friends that I had from before. You see, I live in the north of England in a place called Leeds in Yorkshire.
Right.
And in Yorkshire, people don't really care that much. And it's the reason why I still live there and why I go back whenever I can. And it's because I go back. When I went back to school, nobody was really interested that much. I mean, my friends were interested from a point of view of being curious about what I was up to, but the celebrity side of it, the Harry Potter, it didn't, it never really came up, and so I was able to stay in school, and I've still got all the same friends, and yeah, I almost lead these 2 parallel lives, if you like.
Right.
This life in Harry Potter where I travel the world and meet incredible people and have these once in a lifetime experiences. And then I go back home to Leeds, and I'm Matthew again, and it's brilliant, really. I get to have the best of both worlds. It's
funny you mentioned the Matthew aspect. I'm sure when you're out in America or certain parts of England, do people just refer to you as Neville? I mean, do people just yell out that character name or without saying your real name?
It's strange, really. I mean, in the early days, it was very much, Neville, and it was one of the first things that frightened me at the first premiere when people called me Matthew. I couldn't figure. I was only 11 years old, and I couldn't figure out how these people knew what my name was.
Right.
But yeah, really, people call Neville in the street and stuff. When they recognise you, but recently, it's people started to say Matthew, and are you Matthew Lewis, and that's an odd feeling for me. People saying, are you Neville? I could understand that, they'd seen the film, But if he'll say, "Are you Matthew Lewis?" that's still a bit weird for me.
Yeah. Now you mentioned the bullying aspect. I mean, and for your character originally, and I was always bullied in school. I mean, I don't know if this is too personal to ask you, but did you ever deal with that when you were in school? Like, was that something that you ever had a problem with?
I actually didn't, and again, I think it's because of where I grew up,
right,
and the fact that it wasn't really, people just weren't interested in me being an actor, but I mean, I was quite similar to Neville in terms I was quite shy and I was that chubby cheeked little boy. But no, I had a good bunch of friends at school, and they're still my friends today, and I love them for that, really. But he is an inspiring character for people who have been bullied.
Yeah,
he really is, and I think when people can see him and see his where he started, and he was the unlikeliest of heroes, and then what he goes on to do. It's a really lovely message for people, and I get fan mail where people say they can relate to Neville, and he's helped them, conquer adversity at school or whatever, and to hear that as an actor is something you've been working on, something you've done is inspiring people. It's just there's not many feelings in the world better than that.
Now, let me say this. I think you're a great actor. I think you do phenomenal in these films, and I want to see you do more. I don't know what your next career path is. I don't know what movies you're going to go into next, but do you have that fear that, since you've been a part of this franchise for 10 years, that you think people might typecast you and say, okay, he's that kid from Harry Potter, he's Neville Longbottom, how do we separate him from that and put him in other films? Is that a fear of yours, or do you want to continue acting? What's the deal with that?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, obviously it's a fear. It's been a fear since we realized these films were going to last 10 years.
Right.
Whenever you do something for that amount of time, people start to acknowledge you as that person. But that's just the way it is, and I feel that with myself, having to wear a fat suit and false teeth and things in the film, hopefully I can come away from Neville. But whenever you go for an audition and things, a lot of the times people sort of say you have to first convince them that you're not Neville before you can then convince them you're somebody else, and that's the hurdle. But you just have to go in there and believe you can do that, and hopefully I can. And Daniel Radcliffe is an incredible actor, and I'm inspired by him. I admire him for his ability to do that. I mean, whenever I've seen him on stage in Equus, I saw him on Broadway and How to Succeed in Business.
Right.
And every time he comes onto stage, he immediately ceases to be Daniel Radcliffe, who I've known for over 10 years now, and he ceases to be that, and he is whatever character he is playing, and that's amazing that he can do that, and that's something that I would like to emulate myself.
Yeah.
I guess time will tell.
No, I'd love to see in more movies. I'm excited to see what you're going to do next. Now, I don't know if you can speak on this, but there are obviously things they have to cut out of the book, the books throughout the series, because they have to keep the movies at a certain time, or whatever the director's choices are. Is there a particular favorite scene throughout the entire series that didn't make it into the movies that you wish had?
Yes.
What is that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say, you're absolutely right. It is a shame that some stuff has had to go. But obviously, Steve Kloves, the writer, has such a monumental job on his hands to bring things, shorten things down into a movie. And I think a lot of the time he doesn't get quite the recognition he deserves. I mean, to take those books and make them into a film that makes sense is one thing, let alone a film that entertains people as well. I think he does a tremendous job with that. But yeah, there was a scene in number 5 when Neville goes to visit his parents in the hospital, and it's the first time we see his parents, and it's in the book. It's so lovely. It's so emotional. His mother gives him this sweet wrapper, and his gran sort of dismisses it and says it's nothing. She doesn't know what she's doing. But to Neville, it means the world. His mother's giving him a gift. It's so insignificant, a sweet wrapper, but it's the thought that counts. And we really see there what keeps Neville fighting. Where all his passion comes from, where his courage comes from, where his loyalty. It's the fact that he's doing all this for his mum and dad, and it's really, really nice. And also we would have seen the return of Kenneth Branagh as Gilderoy Lockhart, which was brilliant.
That would have been awesome. See, it's cool to hear that because, I mean, again, these movies do work out, and like, again, credit to the writers for being able to condense these things down. But you know, there are certain things we obviously do want to see in the movies, but they can't put in. But I mean, it's you can't have everything, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, David Yates, the director on that movie, you know, every few weeks he was saying, look, we're still trying to get it in, we're still trying to shoot that scene, but it never happened because of time constraints, scheduling. The fact that it wasn't going to work in the way the story was going in the film, and it is a shame. But you know, we don't enjoy doing it. You know, we don't enjoy losing stuff. The books mean so much to Steve Clovis, to David Yates, David Barrett, David Heyman, all the directors previous. The stories mean so much, and we really don't enjoy losing bits from the books. But you know, sometimes we have to do that, and the films are, you know, they have to be looked at as a separate entity, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I have to let you go, but I do want to say this. I saw the movie in a packed theater on Monday, and I don't know how many times you've seen it or how many theaters you've seen it in with like just big crowds and normal crowds, but you get the biggest loud clap reaction essentially, and I mean for me though, I mean I think I don't know if this is like this is a weird thing to do. Walk into a theater and randomly this weekend and just listen to the crowd reaction. You got to hear the claps you get, man. It's like unbelievable. People like freak out, and I don't want to give away the scene, but I know exactly, you know what scene I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's a very emotional scene and a very big deal for the crowd. I mean, like are you going to do that? I mean, do you have any interest in like going to a theater and just listening to how people react to that sequence?
Well, I've seen it twice now. I saw it in London and
in New York,
and in New York, and you see the British audiences are very different from the American ones. Sort of in England, it was very much sort of a polite applause and well done and very nice. And then in New York, it just sort of it went off really. I mean, everyone was just whooping and cheering and it was amazing. It was fantastic. I mean, what a response. I mean, the thing is, you don't get that in a movie. When I've been on stage for the last 6 months, and on stage you get that immediate reaction. You get you get the gasps, you get the applause, and it's lovely. But you don't get that for a film. And so to come to New York and have that was brilliant. You know, that immediate recognition. And as for going to a theater, I don't think I will. But it is very nice to hear. It's lovely.
Yeah, it was amazing. The crowd reaction was great, and I gotta say congratulations to you, man. I really enjoyed you in the movie, and it's just really good to see your character just blow up like this. I love seeing this happen for your character. It was great.
He's a great guy, and I'm very honored to have been able to play him.
Do you miss him? Like last question, but when you leave set and it's all over, do you kind of miss being him? Does that ever happen? Well,
I mean, I do, yeah. I mean, I obviously I miss the whole process. You know, I miss the familiarity of it. I miss that he's an inspiring character and people, you know, can relate to him. I miss all that kind of stuff. I only hope that the next character I have to play is half the character that Neville Longbottom is.
Right. Well, congratulations. I'm looking forward to seeing more of your work, and everyone needs to go see this movie this weekend, Harry Potter, The Deathly Hallows Part 2. Matthew Lewis, thank you so much, dude.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. You're a badass, man. You're a badass.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
All right, buddy. See ya.